welcome back to the Stitch Sessions. If you're new here, it's Karen here, coming to you with another fun and cute crochet tutorial. So it's been pretty cold up here in Toronto, Canada. We've had negative digits in the Celsius range. So we've been looking at anywhere between minus 15 to minus 20 degrees Celsius. So that's very, very cold. For those of you that deal with Fahrenheit, it's been super cold. So I thought working on a great ear warmer would be a fun project to do so you could still look cute and be warm and cozy for these winter months here. And since Valentine's Day is coming up, I thought this design would be kind of sweet. These double puff stitches here look like hearts. So this is the Little Hearts ear warmer. And it's just a 3-row repeat. It's nice and easy. If you've never done a puff stitch before, do not fret. I am going to take you step by step how to do this. And this is kind of what I call the mini version of the puff stitch. So I think you will be a-okay with that. I do have a tutorial on the full I do have a crochet tutorial on the full puff stitch, like the traditional puff stitch. And if you're curious to check that out, I'll leave a link to it in the description box down below. I also recently talked about the puff stitch in the puff stitch mittens tutorial. So you're seeing a theme here with the puff stitch. So you can check that out as well if you missed last week's tutorial. So this is not going to take you very long to work up. You're just going to need a little bit of some contrasting colors if you want to create this effect with the hearts against a background. Otherwise, if you just want to do it all one color, you're more than welcome to do it all in one color. So this is really quick and easy to whip up. You're just going to crochet. So it's a 3-row repeat. You're just going to crochet lengthwise to create the circumference of your head. And then once you're done that, we're going to join it together to create a ring. And then the final touch was this really simple little chain 3 border. So you can see it's just chain 3s and slip stitches. And it just added a beautiful little accent to really finish off the design. So I think you're really going to like it. Nice, easy, simple stitches. Then you're going to have yourself a little adorable Little Hearts ear warmer. So this size that I made is for a young adult to an adult. So I'll talk about in the materials. You should download the hat sizing chart. I don't think I had the chart when I talked about the materials. So it looks like this. You can find this on the crochetcrafty.com website. And so that way you can make the hat for any size, or sorry, it's not a hat, but the ear warmer does use the similar measurements that you would use for a hat. Okay, so make sure you have that. And I love this because it sits nice and snug, but it's really wide. So it has nice coverage over the ears as well as a little bit more than that. And you can stay nice and snug and super cute in these cold winter months. It's pretty straightforward, and I think you're going to have fun working this up, and it'll take you no time at all. So without further ado, let's talk about collecting our materials together to get started, and then we're going to stitch up this sweet little ear warmer. All right, so this is a perfect opportunity to use some of my leftover yarn here. So you will have recognized this yarn, which is the Carousel Twist by Loops and Threads. This was left over from our January Hats All Folks project. So we did the cowled hood project, and I still have quite a bit left over because it only took me, I bought 2 of these skeins. It took me 1 full skein to do the hood, and then I did use a little bit more of this one just to kind of do some finishing rows there. But for the most part, this is almost a full skein intact, as well as I have some of this fabulous pink yarn, the Bernat Premium yarn, which I really love to use for like baby projects and things like that. They have another line, I think it's the Bernat Value, I think it's called. But for some reason, I can feel the difference in the texture. I'm not a fan of that. I like the premium, and it always sits a bit softer. Both of these are 100% acrylic. And the only thing is, this one's considered a bulky number 5, and this one's considered a medium weight 4. But this is like not really a bulky. It is slightly larger than this one. But for the kind of design I'm going to be working on, I think this is going to be just fine. So I'm going to use the same hook size for both. And it's going to be the 5.5 millimeter hook. You guys see me use this one a lot. And if you go by this label, it's also known as an I or a size 9. And for any project, make sure that you always have a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end and a handy pair of scissors to snip your yarn. So let's get started. Okay, so this design is basically a 2-row repeat, and I'm going to begin with this yarn here. And by the way, in case you're wondering what the colorway is, it doesn't actually say. It's got a color number, which is CL05. I'm pretty sure there was a color label here. Oh, there it is. It's called Birthday Cake, because I know a lot of you guys are going to ask me that color. And I think I do talk about it in the cowled hood project, and I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below because I know many of you like to work on hoods, so I'm going to leave that for you. I'm just going to take that label off there and make sure that I'm working from my center pull to make life a little easier. Okay, so we're going to start off with our initial chain. So you want to begin by placing a slip knot on your hook. You can do that in any way that's comfortable for you. This is how I like to do it. And I am going to chain up a total of 17 chains. So we have 1, 2, 16, and 17. So you have something that looks like that. And now all we're going to do is we are going to find the second chain from your hook. So we count 1 and 2. If you're a little newer, we never count that loop that's on the hook. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a single crochet in there. Now what I like to do is I like to turn my work, and I'm going to work into the back bump here. So that's where I'm going to insert my hook. Just going to help it along there. And then I'm going to single crochet. Okay. So I'm going to do that into each and every back bump to the end of my chain. And when I get to the end of the chain, I should now have 16 stitches in total. Okay, so row number 1 is complete, and I have 16 stitches. So we're going to go on to row number 2. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to continue with the single crochets, but now I'm going to work into the back loops only. So I'm just going to turn my work so I can see the V's there. And I'm going to, let me just bring this behind here. I'm going to go in through the back loop only. This is the loop that's furthest away from me. So I'm going to insert single crochet, and that is all I'm going to do for row number 2. So I'm just going to work into the back loops only. 1 single crochet into each stitch. Okay, now once you've come to the last single crochet, so I'm just about ready to resolve, but this is where I'm actually going to introduce my pink yarn. So I've pulled up a loop, but now I am going to bring the pink through to resolve this stitch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 to make sure that it's nice and secure. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this and I'm going to come back to it later. So I'm going to turn my work, and now we're going to work our little puff stitches. So into the very first stitch, all I want to do is actually just place a half double crochet here. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, and half double crochet, just like that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to skip 2 stitches and into this third one that I already previously worked, we're going to do a mini puff stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, then yarn over, insert again to pull up another loop, and then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to do it a third time. So sometimes with puff stitches you can loop as many as 5 times. I generally will do anywhere from 2 to 3 times. So in this project I'm going to loop over and insert 3 times. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. You will yarn over and pull through all of those loops, okay? Then you're going to go back into the same spot and you're going to repeat that again. So you're going to yarn over and insert, pull up once, pull up twice, pull up 3 times, and then pull through all of them. You've got a little puff situation that looks just like that, okay? Then you're going to chain 1 and you're going to skip 2 stitches and you're going to do that again. So you are going to pull up and pull up and pull up, pull through all 7 and then repeat. So you can insert once, yarn over, insert twice, yarn over, insert a third time, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 7, and then you chain 1. Okay, so you're going to keep repeating this to the end, and then once you get to the end, I'm going to meet up with you guys there. So continue on. You're going to skip 2 and place that double puff stitch in there. And continue on. Okay, so I've done my last one here. I've chained 1. Now I have 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip the next 2, and into the last one, I'm going to place a half double crochet. Okay, by the way, I think I did forget to mention that when you do the first half double crochet, you do chain 1, and then you do your 2 puffs, chain, 2 puffs, chain, 2 puffs, chain, 2 puffs, chain. And we now have 15 stitches, okay? And so we've gone down a stitch, but we don't worry about that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fasten off our yarn and snip here. And we're done with the pink for now. And now we're gonna come back here and we're gonna pick up our color A here, which is the birthday cake. And we are going to insert our hook into that very first stitch and pull up a loop, okay? And we're going to chain 1. So now we're going to work our single crochet stitches again. So we're going to work back into that same stitch, single crochet, and then we're going to go where that chain 1 is, and we are going to single crochet. And now we're going to go into the middle of these 2 puff stitches here, right there. So we're not working into the stitch, we're going to work in between here. There we go. There's a separation of the puff stitches. And we're going to work 2 single crochets. So we're going to insert, we're going to work 1, and then we're going to work 2, just like that. So there, it starts to open up the center of our little heart shape, and that's what creates that really cool effect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the chain space here, and we are going to single crochet into that chain space. Or not the space, sorry, the stitch. We're actually going to work into the stitches. Then we come to the next puff cluster here, or cluster of puffs. We find the split between the 2 stitches, and we go in through there. So this creates a shape here where these stitches go down and then this one stays in the chain 1. So again, whoops, I'm going to do another single crochet just like that. Okay, there we go. So now it looks more like a heart. Okay, then we have our chain 1. We go into the chain. Again, we want to create that nice texture for the heart shape. And then we go in between the puffs. So you really have to kind of work your way through there. Make sure you don't kind of pick up any loops that you shouldn't be picking up. And we're going to place 2 of these here. Okay, and then again into the chain. We single crochet. And then in between here, we place 2. 1 and 2, and then at the end here we place 1 into the single crochet and then 1 into the top of that stitch right there. Okay, and there you have it. Okay, so now we've come up to the end of row number 4. So now we're going to repeat row number 2, which is just, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to single crochet again across the row here into the back loops only. So see on this side, you can see where the back loops are creating a nice pretty little bridge. Isn't that pretty? So we're going to go into the very first stitch here. Sorry, that always gets in the way. I like to push it to the back. So we go in through the back loop, and single crochet, just like that. So you've done this once before. And so you're going to get very good at working into your back loops only if this is a new technique for you. Okay, so I have completed row number 5 and my work looks like this. So now you can really see the little hearts coming through. And when I turn my work here, look at that. Isn't that just precious? So this is going to be what you're going to repeat now for rows and rows until you get the circumference of the head that you want to work for or work on. So here at this point, I would just fasten off. I think that's going to be the easiest thing to do from now on. I've been kind of rejigging this design over and over, but I think we are just going to fasten off with each of these 2 rows. And then we'll turn our work. We'll reintroduce the pink. And yes, you're going to have some ends to weave in later, but it'll all work out. So I'm going to insert into the last stitch. I'm going to pull up that loop, chain 1, and start off with a half double crochet in the very first stitch there. And then all you're going to do is you're going to repeat row number 3 with your little puff stitch hearts, right? So you would then chain 1, you're going to skip these 2 stitches, and into that 3rd stitch you will do your puff stitch heart. So 1, 2, and 3, pull through, and then again 1, 2, and 3, pull through, and then you're going to chain 1. Okay, and that is going to be what you're going to do to create that really fun little heart shape effect. So you will always do 2 rows of single crochets and then 1 row of these puff heart stitches, I'm going to call them from now on. And you keep repeating that, and remember that the 2nd row of single crochets you want to work into the back loops only. So there is a slight differentiation between one side and the other. So this side that has the ridges really frames in the hearts, but the other side also looks really nice too, actually. So you could work it any which way you like, but I really like how that looks. So you're going to continue to build this up until you get the circumference of the head. And actually, I should have included this in your materials. My apologies, guys. So I'm going to put a link in the description box down below. You should refer to the hat sizing chart that I have on the Crochet Crafty website. So if you're not making this for yourself, like if you're making this for yourself, you just keep going until you measure around your own head. But if you're making this as a gift for someone, there is a hat sizing chart you can refer to where you can see what the head circumference is. Now, I always recommend maybe taking an inch, even 2 inches off of the circumference you're working on, because you do want this to sit a little bit snug, and it has the tendency to stretch a little bit over time, especially with wear and washing and things like that. Now, if you are a tight crocheter, then I probably would recommend you go right to the measurement. But again, it always has a tendency to stretch. So if your head circumference, for example, is 20 inches, like 20 to 22 is the average adult or young adult to adult, then I would make it 20, or I would even make it 19 or 18 inches because you want it to sit nice and snug around the head. So I'm going to leave you to do the rest of your length, and then I'm going to come back here and talk about what we're going to do next. Okay, so I have the length that is good for me, and I have something that looks like this, so you can see all these tails are hanging out here. And just to let you know where I'm at, I have 18 inches, which is really good because that'll fit snugly around my head, and which is going to be about approximately 46 centimeters. So now what's left is to join these 2 sides together. Now what you might want to do, because these tails really are all over the place, is A, you might either want to weave them all in, or B, you might want to do what I'm going to do, which is just make sure these are all tightly secured. So you can see where I left them off here. I've kind of tied a nice tight knot, and I've done it about 2 or 3 times for each end. So I'm just going to quickly make sure that they're all secure. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to snip them all just to make life easier and to get these guys out of the way here. So you can see this one's still a little bit on the loose side. Now, if you're not a fan of doing that and you want to weave your ends in, you go ahead. And normally I don't really have an issue with weaving in ends. I know it's not everybody's favorite thing to do, but it's just that there's so many of them that I just think that this is going to be the most efficient use of time. And as long as these are nice and secure, you should not have any issues with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, make sure these are all nice and secure on each side, and then I'm going to snip down these ends. Now, I have not snipped off my working yarn. So what I've done is I've ended on those puff stitch or the puff stitch row, and this is the side I want to join to the side that has the single crochets. So that's the one thing I would say is make sure that you end on the puff stitch row. That way it'll just be a little bit more seamless, right? So if you had done the single crochet row, now you're gonna have like a thicker band of single crochets. So just keep that in mind. All right, I'm gonna clean this up and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so we're all nice and cleaned up. Gave this little guy a haircut here. So you can just see the little ends hanging out there. I've done nice double and triple knots, so I feel pretty good about them staying in the right spot. And this is what I've got left over. You might want to hang on to these. Sometimes these work out great for stuffing for some, you know, stuffed crochet items. So not a little bad thing to have around. Okay, so the next job we have to do now is bring these two sides together. So I always like to have the end that has the loop closest to me, and I'm going to put it up against the other edge here. And of course, you should have the same number of stitches going across. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to chain one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work into the back loops of this stitch. And I'm going to work into the back loop of this stitch here. So this is your starting chain actually. So I'm going to work through there. And all I want to do is I want to slip stitch. I don't really want to create a lot of height here with a single crochet. So I'm just going to slip stitch. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch and do the exact same thing. Insert and then insert there. And slip stitch. And that is what is going to secure this band together. So you're going to take it from a flat project into a circular one. Okay, so every single stitch, back loop and back loop, and then slip stitch. Okay, so you can see now that it's becoming attached. So do that all the way to the end, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to just hide these little nibs here. One more step to go. Okay, so I have finished slip stitching, and you can see it looks something like that, and looks pretty good from far away. You can, if you'd like, decide to turn this the other way, inside out, and where is it? There we go. And it actually blends a lot nicer, so you can't really tell where the end and where the start is because we worked into those back loops. So this is where we slip stitch to join. And because we did the back loops, you see it mimics the ridge that we've got here. So totally up to you, whichever side that you would like to work as your right side. I actually think I am going to leave it on this side. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to just feed my yarn here so I have it on the right side. And now all we're going to do is we're just going to work a little border, and that's going to help kind of camouflage these little knotted nubs here. Okay. And so we're going to keep it nice and simple. What we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. We just want to find a spot where the chain 3 can just rest nicely. So I thought about going in, doing stitches into every single side here of all the rows, but because it's a contrasting color, it doesn't always look very even. So I thought a chain stitch border would be nice. So I'm just going to kind of go in here. Instead of picking up just this one, I'm going to try, if I can, to also pick up another loop down here, just to bring it together. And then all I want to do is slip stitch. Okay, and the goal here is just to kind of let it lie somewhat flush. Like obviously there's going to be a little scalloped edge, which is part of what we want. So I'm going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to go into the next little area, and I'm going to see if I can insert my hook in through there and then slip stitch. I'm also not trying to be too tight about it, so just brought that slip stitch up. And so it's sitting nicely there. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to chain 3 again. So this is very much an eyeball situation because of how raw the edge is. And so now I think I'm going to find a spot somewhere in the middle here and slip stitch. Nice and relaxed. So again, it is creating a bit of a scallop, but it's sitting nice and flush to the edge, and it totally hides those little knotted nubs. So one more time, 1, 2, 3, and then let's see, I'm gonna go right there and slip stitch. Good, okay. So we are getting a nice little shape, but it's staying close enough to the edge that it's creating a beautiful camouflage. And isn't that just lovely the way the pink picks up here? I thought about doing it in this color, but really adding the contrasting pink color is for me what really, really makes it. So that's all you're gonna do. I'm gonna go all the way around this edge here. Then I'm gonna slip stitch to join, snip my yarn. That end I will definitely weave in. And then I'm gonna come on this side and I'm gonna do the same thing. And I'm most likely gonna snip this guy out. Actually, no, I'm gonna weave this guy in because I have some space here. All you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch to join, chain 3, and then slip stitch, chain 3, exactly what we did on the other side. So this way you're going to have a nice border on the top and on the bottom, and then your sweet little hearts head warmer will be complete. Okay, and here we have it, our little hearts ear warmer with the border done on each side. Very subtle, but see how it anchors the heart design with the pink on the edge and the pinks in the middle. I just love that. So sweet. And so just in case you're wondering, so the width comes out to just under 5 inches. So it's approximately 12.5 centimeters. So it's perfect because it covers the ear and then some on either side. And it is cute as can be. And it'll keep you nice, snug, and warm through these cold winter months. It's definitely been cold here in Canada. In Toronto, we've had like minus 25 degrees Celsius on an average day here at the end of January. So it's definitely cold here, and a nice, cute little ear warmer will come in just handy to add to any winter outfit. So I hope you found this fun to work on and fairly easy. If this was your first time working on some puff stitches, I hope that it took kind of the mystique out of it and you found it easier than you thought it might be. And it showed you, hopefully, how you can kind of mix and match different stitches to create a really fun design. So if you have any further questions, as always, you know, you can leave them for me in the comment box down below. But I know some of you do like to email me directly, so feel free to send me an email at info@crochetcrafty.com. And as always, I recommend that you attach a photo of your work if you're having a really particular issue, and that way I can have a closer look and then answer your question a little bit more succinctly. And of course, come visit me on crochetcrafty.com, the website. There's lots of great resource tools for you, just like that hat sizing chart I talked about earlier, garment sizing charts. There's a lot of free patterns on there. I've got some more coming out this year, and there's also a link to my Etsy shop. So make sure to check that out. And as always, come say hi to me. I am on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. So make sure to tag me in your work. All right, guys, that's it for this week's tutorial. I hope you're all staying cozy and warm wherever you are, and that you're taking good care of yourselves as always. And I look forward to seeing you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.